autopilot for my Tesla Model 3? I'm going to give you the answer up front, no teasers, but I will also tell you why. The answer is no. I absolutely love autopilot on my car. A couple things that you should know. Number one, my previous car before going electric was a Toyota Corolla with a manual transmission. My wife drives a manual transmission, and we had a discussion a while back where we actually decided that we would drive a manual transmission forever. We both have driven them for almost our entire lives, both love them. Although things have changed. First off, I'll tell you, we had a conversation with an uncle one time who was like, "Oh, when you have kids, everything changes. You'll give up the manuals." But my wife is originally from Malaysia, and she was like, everybody over in Malaysia drives manual, and it's not a big deal. So we decided that would be a thing. But manuals are getting rapidly phased out of production. In fact, the new BMWs, we're looking at one of those, and then manual is an option in North America, which is really sad, but turned me off of the BMW because if it couldn't be manual, I was a lot less interested. Either way, so I just want you to know I love driving, drive manual, really enjoy the control over the car, something I really like about driving. Second thing you should know is we do a pretty good mix. Our everyday daily driving is pretty much just around town. We live in a suburb of Annapolis, and it's just around town, no big deal. But pretty frequently, we do a lot of highway driving, so we do a pretty good mix of both. And I've heard a lot of people say that autopilot is best when it's used in traffic. Last thing I want to share is that I got my autopilot from my car for $6,000. Interestingly enough, when I bought the car, it would have been $5,000 if taken at delivery. But Maryland has a stupid rule where if the car costs over $60,000, then it's not eligible for any state tax rebates or incentives whatsoever. And the autopilot at 5,000 would have put me 500 bucks over the line and would have made me ineligible. So the deal was it was 5 grand if you bought it with the car, but even if I bought the autopilot while I was still at the service center at the time of delivery, it was going to be 6,000 because it'd be considered after post delivery or aftermarket or whatever. So I decided to go ahead and pay $1,000 more, but I would get more than $1,000 as a state credit. So it worked out and just kind of made sense at that point. Uh, anyway, so I got it for 6 grand, and I just noticed or yesterday that the price on the website now is 7 grand if you take it after delivery. And of course, I think it's common knowledge that Tesla prices are pretty much subject to change, and whatever you see on the website when you place your order, that's the price you're going to pay. But my experience with Autopilot has been absolutely wonderful. Again, knowing that I really enjoy driving, I like maintaining control of the car, and as I'm recording this, I'm just driving around town and I'm manually driving. Autopilot is not active. But I'll tell you, man, when we're taking a longer trip, more than an hour, the longest we've taken so far is 14 hours. And on a longer trip, the autopilot, it's wonderful. First off, I feel really safe with it. The first couple of times I used it, I think it's natural to be a little bit uncomfortable being driven around by a computer. And it's definitely not perfect. There are times that you have to take over. And, even Tesla right now says that it's in beta, and it tells you very clearly on the website what it will and won't do. I think from what I've seen on the Tesla forums and from other owners is that the number one reason that people get upset with autopilot or disappointed in it or whatever is they're trying to get it to do something that it just can't do yet. But the honest truth is if you look at the website, it'll tell you exactly what it can and exactly what it can't do, and it does what it's supposed to do beautifully, and it doesn't do what it's not supposed to do. So I've been very satisfied with the performance of it. And granted, right, it's not completely self-driving yet. You need to be aware, and there have been plenty of times that I manually take over from the car, either because I believe I can do a maneuver better than it can, or it's just not able to do something, and I'm not thinking of any specific examples. Either way, so it's definitely not self-driving, but overall, it's got so many cameras and sensors. It's fully aware of where it is and where other objects and cars are in relation to it. And it just takes a lot of the stress and anxiety out of longer trips or high volume traffic, especially. It makes it a lot easier and smoother. And I'll tell you, the thing that really sold me was this 14-hour trip. We drove from Maryland to Georgia, and it was awful weather. It started pouring down rain. The sky got super black, and it was so rough. We couldn't barely see the lines on the road, and it would have been really stressful. I put on autopilot, And what I found is with all the rain, I think the cameras or sensors or whatever were blocked, so it wasn't self lane changing very well. I had to do all of that. But as far as keeping me centered in my lane, keeping me away from walls and other vehicles and all that stuff, man, it was great. It took so much pressure off, and I felt safer with the autopilot on than I would have if I were completely driving manually. So that's been my experience. I think it's absolutely worth it. Obviously, if you're able to do it, get it. If you're buying a Tesla, if you're able to get it with your initial order, you are going to save some money. As of today, you're going to save 2 grand. So if you're going to do it, definitely worth doing. If you're unsure about it though, after you buy your Tesla, I've seen uh, I've seen Tesla offer 2 separate trials right now where they give you, I think it's 30 days as a free trial, so you can try it before you buy it, but then you're going to pay the after delivery price. So either way, that's been my thought on it. I'm not saying that I drive on autopilot all the time, but there are definitely some times that it is 100% worth it. And I would say it's one of the best features of the car right now. And I know that other companies are working on similar kind of platforms to increase the autonomy. And I fully hope that becomes a whole lot more common as we go forward. By the way, if you're thinking about buying a Tesla and haven't yet, check the link below. You'll see my referral code. You get 6 months of free supercharging. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and we'll look forward to talking to you in the next video.